Oh man, haven't had this problem all day with the loading, but it looks like it has become a factor. What's going on, YouTube concurrent viewers? The YouTube concurrent viewer. Unfortunately, man, as soon as I started the live stream, I have not been able to connect to a match since then. I played 4 straight matches with no problem, and it looks like Steel City Interactive is having some server issues right now. So I don't know if you've had a chance to play yet in the live beta, but the game is actually really good, man. It's really good. I know I've seen people complaining about it. I think most of the people complaining are watching it be played and not actually being able to experience it themselves. Um, when I looked at videos from other people playing it, I said, "Well, this isn't so impressive." And then when I got in there and started playing it and really, getting a feel for the game myself, I'm actually really impressed with the game, bro. To be honest with you, the first couple of matches I did, I played as Mickey Ward. I didn't really know the controls, so I just kind of kept my hands high, jabbed inside. If I can get inside, rake this guy to the body. As soon as he tries to get away, I'm just going to wing a wild right hand over the top and try to catch him on the way out. That strategy, I mean, it worked pretty effectively. I won the first match by split decision, fighting Arturo Gotti that way. The guys who were playing with Gotti, tend to be more mobile, more moving around. I haven't played as any of the female fighters yet. I've really actually only played as Mickey Ward. I played one match as Gotti. I got knocked out in the second round. He's kind of chinny, man, and I could not figure out how to do the get up mechanic with the left and right trigger. I just couldn't. I couldn't get it. So definitely flash knockdowns. I mean, in that match, I got trapped in the corner and I just got pummeled like for 30 straight seconds. And then when I got out of the corner, I got hit about 2 more times and I was done. So I definitely prefer Mickey Ward to Arturo Gotti in this game. He seems to me to be a way sturdier fighter, which is, true in real life too. And it's reflected in his statistics here. One thing I like about the game is these kind of traits that they give to each fighter. So, the statistics are more granular than they are in like Fight Night, older boxing games. 2 fighters with for instance two fighters with, say, for instance, an 81 strength. Looking at the granular statistics, the breakdown, those could actually be 2 completely different fighters. You could have one guy who's a strong left hand, strong jab. The other guy could be a powerhouse with the right hand, like Deontay Wilder. So I like the way that they differentiate the fighters on that level. And then even on a more specific level, they give them these kind of traits that really can help to individualize a fighter and really help to maybe govern your fight strategy even further going into a fight. For instance, you can look at a fighter like Mickey Ward. He has this third win trait. All the damage dealt by his punches are reduced by 5% for the first 8 rounds. But after 8, his stamina recovery increases 10% each round. And I don't know if that's cumulative, but if it is, that's a huge bonus. It's a huge trade-off, though, for the first 8 rounds of the fight. I think that might be the reason why no one's picking Mickey Ward in the beta, because in the beta the fight's only 8 rounds. So you get all the negative and none of the positive. But I'm gonna try again, man. I'll try one more time to jump into a match and see if I can get another one going. See if I can make good use of my current fight strategy. Searching. One thing Steel City did a lot of was show off their fighter models for like the last, like 2 years. If you've been following it since back when it was ESBC, and at first I was like, man, why? Like, why do you keep showing all these fighter models? Like, it's not, that's not going to keep people entertained. But when you look at the actual game, man, and the way the fighters move, and some of the little nuances they captured, like I can see now why they were showing those off. They've done the fighter models. I mean, I've only seen four fighter models, obviously, in action in gameplay, but they've probably done a better job of capturing fighter likenesses um, than any of their predecessors, and I mean that independent of, obviously they've got a higher level of technology to work with than their predecessors did, but they had to have put a lot of time and effort. All right, let's try the women's game. Steel City Interactive. Welcome to Undisputed. Interesting, my beta test account does not show my actual record. So apparently that feature isn't enabled yet. I'll let you know now. I played about 4 straight matches with no real problems. And as soon as I decided to say, well, I'm going to go and live stream so some people can see the game, because if it was not good, I was just gonna say to hell with it and and just move on. But I played through like 4 matches, man. I gotta say I'm actually really impressed, man. Like it's a really good game. I would say it's got gameplay like on par with Fight Night. Um, it's got gameplay on par with Fight Night, and then the graphics and the visuals are just way superior. Um, I say it's got gameplay on par with Fight Night, but I don't really know the controls of this game. I've been basically using Fight Night controls. So it's probably, once I get to know the game better, either it'll just prove to be superior to Fight Night, or it'll start to show some flaws and tendencies where you can exploit, different things that maybe make the game not so good. But, modern day software development cycles, I'm a software engineer for a living. That's what I do. I think they've got a good base, and they can always tweak with sliders, custom options for players, or they can go full on patch, to change the dynamics of the game. Which back in the day when Fight Night came out, like, the exploits were the exploits. They really couldn't. 10 years ago, you really couldn't do so much to change everything on the fly the way you can modern day. So I think these guys, Steel City Interactive, outside of the server issues they're having during beta, but beta is the time to have server issues. It's better to have those server issues now than to have it at launch. But I apologize to you if I don't get a game. There's not really a whole lot I can do about it. But just to give you my personal opinion, when I was watching videos of people playing, I said, well, it's not. I said, man, it's not that impressive. But as soon as I got it downloaded and I started playing, I said, oh, this is actually really good. This is actually a really good game. I guess in a sense it hits above its weight. It's more fun to play than it is to watch someone else play, which is what a game inevitably should be. So, can tell you a little bit about my experience. My first match was me playing as Mickey Ward, taking on Arturo Gatti. The guy who was playing Gotti was, he was a lot of moving around in circles, a lot of kind of the cute stuff with the shoulder bend and the lean back, all that kind of little slick stuff. Me not knowing the game and not knowing the controls, I just went hands high, jabbed till I was close enough, rack him to the body. When he tries to get away from me, I'm gonna throw a wild overhand right and hope I hit him, hope I connect. I never really did significant damage anywhere except the body using that strategy. That right hand always seemed to be a little short, or sometimes I would try to anticipate him moving away and I would throw it early and it would just kind of look like it would like cuff him over his head or something. Um, but I ended up winning the fight by split decision. You know, I think one of the judges was looking at him with the accuracy with his punches, not wasting a lot. Um, and I think the other two judges kind of saw it my way. Interestingly enough, none of the three judges had the same exact score. None of them had the same score, and none of them scored the rounds identically. And I could see in the first 4 rounds of the fight, I definitely dominated. And every judge, seemingly regardless of their preferences, had all of those rounds. Two of the three judges had all of those rounds for me. The other one had them 3-1. But I could definitely see that where there were close rounds, the judges' tendencies seemed to show very, very clearly. Um, Probably more based on punch stats, like a kind of a CompuBox, because obviously, CompuBox in real life is not 100% accurate, but CompuBox in this game is 100% accurate, because it's a computer. So I could definitely see the rounds where he was throwing very little but landing a high percentage. There was one particular judge who just was like, yes, please, give me more of that. I'm going to check the box for this man every time he lands, 40% of his punches, even if he's only throwing 30 of them. And you're throwing 50, 60 punches, but you're only landing 20 some odd percent. There was just one of those judges who I could tell, looking at the punch stats and looking at his scoring round by round, that was definitely exactly like his little checkbox. So I think that's going to lead to some interesting, online matches. I don't see a lot of so far it's less knockout prone than Fight Night to me. And maybe that's just because players don't know how to really go for the knockout yet. But if it is as less knockout prone than Fight Night, and these judges are literally going to be like 3 random guys looking for completely random stuff, and you don't know what they're looking for, I can see a lot of controversy around Undisputed online game decisions, which is 100% reflective of the sport, but it's definitely going to be interesting, because in that fight, it was an 8-round fight. The judge that scored for Gotti had it wide for Gotti. He had Gotti winning rounds 2-1 compared to me. So he gave me basically the first 3 rounds, and he didn't give me much else. Am I having any problem with the camera angle during the match? I don't know if the camera angles are selectable. I haven't gone through and looked at any of those options yet. The default camera angle that they give you during the match, in my opinion, gives you a really good view of the action. The offside, I found that I was throwing a lot of left hooks to the body and not really doing as much right hooks to the body, because it was easier for me to see when the left hook to the body landed, and it was more difficult for me to see when that right hook to the body landed, because it was usually opposite the camera. One other thing I point out about this game is the footwork is way more important in this game. I've had guys trapped in corners where they've literally circled me and turned me into the corner. but it happens so fluidly and so in the action. It's almost like you're almost like in this dance with the other guy where it's like chop you to the body, chop you to the body, step, step. He hits you, you got to step around him. There's a little bit of a meta game, a game within a game that kind of takes place in the corners and on the ropes. If you're a person who wants to, well, you're not gonna, you really won't have a choice whether you want to play it. If your opponent is playing it well, um, he's gonna have a real tactical advantage on you. Closing distance in the middle of the ring. Um, Fighters with Gotti in this game has faster footwork than Mickey Ward, obviously. Closing distance on him if he doesn't want to be closed on can actually be really difficult. It can be way more difficult than what I anticipated it would be. And then using the footwork and the angles to start to cut off the ring and work him back into the ropes and work him in the corners against the guy who wants to use Gotti as more of a mobile boxer and less of a brawler. That was another thing I noticed. So it definitely has a lot of the nuances of the sport that play out for you and play out strategically. In between the corners, in between the rounds, everything is silent. There's no mini game. There's no meta game. I don't know if they plan to have one. It does show you your stamina and health in between rounds. And it also shows you the recovery amount. Really similar to Fight Night, where at the end of the round, you'll see your stamina and then you'll see, plus 2% health or plus 8% stamina. In the fight where I did quite a bit of body work early, it really did chomp. I mean, it chomped chunks out of my opponent's stamina, and it seemed to gradually, almost the opposite of the law of diminishing returns. It was almost a law of increasing returns. Like by the time we got to round 5, it seemed like the same amount of good shots to the body were taking bigger chunks out of my opponent. Now, maybe I was just getting better at landing clean connects or something like that, but yeah, as far as the corner, the guys in between the corner, it's completely silent. The announcers in the game pretty much repeat the same around the fight chatter. These two guys are really evenly matched, and I can't believe these two guys are taking these shots, and less of really kind of a blow by blow commentary, which is something I think they definitely need to work on. I'm not sure if, sometimes that audio, because there's so much of it, sometimes that's kind of the last thing to get introduced. And sometimes when you're an indie development company, which Steel City Interactive is, you've really only got budget and time to focus on core gameplay. And some of those bells and whistles, if you've ever played, I have an indie game development channel that I used to do a long time ago that I kind of resurrected just to do this, but a lot of the time those bells and whistles, they just don't make it. They don't make it into the game because the company just doesn't have the finances to put all the polish on the game like an EA would, or like a Sega, or one of these other companies with a large budget. So yeah, I'm sorry, man. I should have started live streaming at the very beginning. I'll probably start live streaming at the very beginning tomorrow, because it looks like It looks like at this point, man, the server's just not gonna let me do anything here. But if you had any more questions about the game, man, I'm happy to answer them. I think if people come into this expecting competent core gameplay, I think that's what they've really focused on. I think maybe if people come in here expecting, I'll say that they focused on competent core gameplay, and they focused on character models because the character models look really good. I think people who come in here that are looking for all of the bells and whistles, like you would get with an EA John Madden football or like a Fight Night Champion, you might not find that. I don't know if they're gonna have like these ultra realistic stadiums. The crowd kind of exists in a shadow, like you can kind of see them, but you kind of can't. But if you're looking for something where you can go online and have a good boxing match against another opponent, where the fighters seem to realistically model their counterparts, then you're probably going to be impressed. I'm actually when I played Fight Night, I was my big thing is always like the career mode. Making my fighter and taking him up through the amateurs and through the pro ranks and that whole thing. That's the big thing I do. I don't do a lot of online play. The only reason I'm doing it now is because that's what the beta is. If they have a good career mode with good fighter development, realistic kind of training. I mean, I know that's a lot to ask from a little indie company that really just seemed to have got an embarrassment of riches when it came to making this game. But if they get that part of it right, I'll be their biggest diehard fan. But if not, I mean, that's cool too. I'll still come on here. I'll play little fights against the CPU. I'll get my favorite fighters and put them up against each other in fantasy matches. And that whole spiel. I think when it comes to like what you're talking about, creating your own boxer and possibly doing career mode, now we're getting down to like, excuse me, now we're getting down to like, what is the AI going to be like? Like, how are they going to have AI profiles that mimic the styles of all these fighters? Because they have so many of them. I think that's going to be a huge challenge. But when you look at what they've been able to do so far, just with the licensing, just getting this many fighters in the game, like, they've already done something that some of these big companies have failed to do over the years. So, there's no telling how far these guys can go. I won't put any doubt on them because they've made it this far, and I wish I could show you, man. I wish I could show you the game because it's it is impressive. It is impressive. When I was playing as Mickey Ward and I'm trying to jab my way inside and get those good hooks into the body, like I really felt like that kind of once I got into the rhythm of it, the game really seems like it lets you kind of play how you want to play. And when you're playing to your fighter's strengths, you can feel it. And when you're playing against your fighter's strengths, you can feel that you're not getting the same level of performance, no matter how well you're moving the Joy-Con. So yeah, the roster is 100% impressive, and I've got a really strong feeling, um, you know, that there's going to be some, um, the dreaded word in video games today is DLC, but I got a strong feeling there's going to be some DLC involved. Like, it's almost impossible, man. Like, how are they gonna license all of those big names? No, no, they don't have a. As far as I know, they don't have a network license for this game, and I think that's why the announcing team is not like the ESPN crew or the Showtime crew or the HBO crew. Um, and without somebody big like that licensing, you know, the game itself, it's like, man, where is this money coming from to license these fighters? And I gotta believe that it's in a rev share, and that these fighters will come in packs, and then the more people that buy that fighter's pack, you know, that's how that fighter gets his money back for his likeness. I mean, it could be some other business plan. I mean, like I said, I'm a software engineer. I'm definitely not a business person, but you know, I'll definitely. I mean, I wouldn't mind investing some money just to get the fighters that I want. I mean, I remember when I had WWE 2K17, like I was buying those. I had to have like the NWO and all those old guys from like back in the late '90s. But it just seems crazy to me that the game has such a large following, but it's like the community is so harsh on the game, you know, and they haven't even been able to play yet. Like, I think once most people get it in their hands and once they get a chance to actually play it, they're going to be happy with it. So, what are your thoughts so far, man? I mean, I know you haven't played it, but I'm sure you've seen. I'm sure you've seen at least some of the video content that's been dropped. Yeah, I mean they're you know, I've done these before with companies I've worked for. So whenever they do a server stress test, um, it's almost always designed to break. They just want to see where it breaks. So on day one, right, they'll start the server stress test, and you know, 10,000 people will get on, and they'll be like, "Oh, okay, we got 10,000 people," and then, you know, it'll crash, and then the next day it'll be like, "Okay, what do we got to do to get to 20,000?" And I don't know what their specific numbers are, but right. So what they're doing is they're looking at these client server connections, and they're looking at the scalability. Right? If we do it this way with this amount of resources, how high can we scale this? Given, like right now they might have this thing running on some little server in some back room, right? But they've got a whole network of servers ready to go to put all the players on launch day. But they've got it running on this little subset of servers so that they can see, well, what does this scale like? If I've got 5 players on here, what are the network resources being used? And then what about 20? What about 50? What about 100? And then they're trying to get some kind of estimate from that on what this will look like when they go full scale. So the weird thing about a test like this is it's almost, from our perspective as users, it's failing right now, but from their perspective, it's probably just giving them the data they need to get ready for launch day. Well, man, it looks like, yeah, I've been on for 44 minutes now with no luck. But I'll send out a post on Facebook tomorrow when they ramp it up again. I'll try to get on and get streaming from the get-go. Yeah, but if you got any more questions, man, I mean, I'm happy to answer them before I drop. I don't want to. I see people coming in and out. I don't want to keep giving people hope if they're just gonna be able to see this this little searching icon on the screen. So.
Were you talking to people or were you videoing?
All right, yeah, I want to cut off, but I'll try to get back on tomorrow, and hopefully the servers are up, man. I can show you guys some gameplay and some of the limited strategy I've been able to use while playing the game. All right, go ahead.